Truth tables. So truth tables are awesome because what they do is they really help us analyze a complex statement by summarizing all the possibilities and their truth values. So a truth value is either it's true or it's false. So let's look at an example. Complete the truth tables given the following two propositions. Proposition P, you complete your homework tonight. Proposition Q, you play Fortnite tonight. So if I'm using a truth table to kind of organize this, if I'm looking for an and, so you complete your homework, that happens, and you play Fortnite. This would make this and a true statement. Remember, for an and to be true, both propositions have to be true. In this situation, you complete your homework, but you don't play Fortnite. So this is considered a false statement. Here, you don't finish your homework and you still play Fortnite. Shouldn't be doing that. That would be false. And in the last line, you don't complete your homework and you don't play Fortnite. This would also be false. So again, for an and, you need to have it both be true. For an or, just at least one has to be true, because again, in mathematics, we're going to be talking about an inclusive or. So at least one of those statements is true here, so that's a true statement. At least one of them is true in this scenario, so that's true. At least one of them is true there, so that's true. And both of those are false, so this is a false statement. So again, if you kind of thought about what these means, this means you played Fortnite or you completed your homework. Both of those are true. So yeah, that you did one or the other or both. Here, you completed your homework or you didn't play Fortnite. Also a true statement. You didn't complete your homework, but you played Fortnite. So didn't complete your homework or you played Fortnite, true statement. And then if you didn't do either of those, that would be a false. So again, for ands to be true, both of them, those propositions have to be true. For an or to be true, at least one of them has to be true. If both of them are not true, then it's false. So again, you're probably wondering, why are we doing these truth tables right now? This seems like a very basic thing. You're going to see as we get into some more complex arguments that this is going to really be helpful in figuring out if they're true or false. Last thing for this section is conditional statement. So a conditional statement connects two propositions with if, then. So if you do your homework, then you can play Fortnite. The proposition that follows the if is called the hypothesis. And the proposition that follows the then is called the conclusion. So let's look at some examples of this. Fill in the following truth table of the conditional statement. If I complete my homework tonight, then I will play Fortnite. Okay, so if I complete my homework, then I get to play Fortnite. So is this first one true? If I complete my homework, I played Fortnite. Yeah, that would be true. So you finished your homework. So you got to play Fortnite. The second one, you completed your homework, so you did the hypothesis, but the conclusion ends up being a false statement. So this ends up being false. And if P then Q is false, because the only way it's going to be true is, well, you'll see. So the expectation in this case is not met. So we expected to be able to play Fortnite if we finished our homework. Well, we finished our homework and we didn't play Fortnite. So that means that if you finish your homework, then you will play Fortnite. That's a false statement because you didn't end up playing Fortnite. Now these last two are a little tricky. So false statement. If I complete my homework tonight, then I will play Fortnite. So this is saying I did not do my homework tonight, but I still played Fortnite. I would still consider this a true statement. And here is the reason why. So you didn't finish your homework. Did this statement ever say what happens if you don't complete your homework? And the answer is no. It only says what happens if you complete your homework. So see, this is how you can manipulate some stuff like, well, hey, you didn't say what happened if I didn't complete my homework. So we can't say basically what happens is this ends up being a true statement because of the fact that since the statement was only for what would happen if we finished our homework, we typically say the condition wasn't met, the hypothesis wasn't met, so there's no conclusion to compare it to, so I'm going to assume this is still a true statement. Same with the false, I didn't complete my homework and I didn't play Fortnite. Same thing here. Again, that expectation or that hypothesis was not met, but we have no conclusion to compare it to. So we end up saying that ends up being a true statement. So again, for if and then, the only times that it's going to be false is if you did the condition. So I finished my homework, I completed my homework, and you don't get to do the conclusion. I wasn't allowed to play Fortnite. So again, if P then Q, those are true in every scenario if you've completed your homework and you get to play Fortnite, or if you don't complete your homework and you either get to or don't get to. We can't say whether this if P then Q is true because the hypothesis wasn't met. But if you meet the hypothesis, if that hypothesis is true, you complete your homework and you don't get to do the conclusion is false, then this if P then Q is a false statement. So I think about things like another situation would be if you pass the driver's test, then you'll be able to get your license. And so, well, you've got written, and in Oregon we've both written and driving. So you passed your driver's test, you would assume you would get your license. If you don't get your license, if you passed your driver's test and you don't get your license, then this, if you pass your driver's test, you get your license, would be a false statement. So again, this is kind of a lot. I think once you guys kind of flesh through some of the examples in the homework, it'll kind of flesh it through. And if you still need anything, please reach out.